Coming up on NEWSCENTER tonight. US President Donald Trump plays down North Korea's recent weapons test during a meeting with his Japanese counterpart Shinzo Abe. Prime Minister Abe, meanwhile, says Pyongyang violated UN resolutions. South Korea kicks off the 4-day Ulchi Taegeuk exercise with some 500,000 people taking part in drills focused on boosting defensive readiness. South Korea enters the final process of donating $8 million to the World Food Programme and UNICEF to help starving North Koreans. South Korean director Bong Joon-ho comes home to a hero's welcome after winning the top prize at the Cannes Film Festival. NEWSCENTER begins now. Good evening and welcome to Arirang NEWSCENTER, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Noada. Our top story this evening, US President Donald Trump and Japanese Prime Minister have expressed different views on North Korea's firing of short-range missiles earlier this month. Trump says it doesn't bother him at all, while Abe calls it a violation of UNSC resolutions. Meanwhile, Abe says he's willing to meet Kim Jong-un to solve the issue of Japanese nationals abducted by the regime. Oh Jung-hee starting us off tonight.
Dismissing concerns about North Korea's launches of short-range missiles earlier this month, U.S. President Donald Trump highlighted there's been no nuclear or long-range ballistic missile tests and said he'll someday strike a deal with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Fielding questions at a news conference in Japan after his summit with Prime Minister Shinzo Abe on Monday, Trump was asked whether he views the North's missile launches as a violation of UN sanctions.
Perhaps he wants to get attention, and perhaps not. Who knows? It doesn't matter. All I know is that there have been no nuclear tests. There have been no ballistic missiles going out. There have been no long-range missiles going out. And I think that someday we'll have a deal.
On the other hand, his Japanese counterpart said Pyongyang's launch of, quote, short-range ballistic missiles violates UN Security Council resolutions.
North Korea's May 9th short-range ballistic missile launch violates the UN resolutions, and it is extremely regrettable as they repeatedly said so. At the same time, I would like to again express my respect in the new approach taken between President Trump and Chairman Kim.
Abe once again floated the idea of having a summit with Kim Jong-un to solve the issue of Japanese citizens abducted by North Korea in 1970s and 80s, and will attach no conditions on having such summit. On the trade front, Trump pressed Abe on what he called an unbelievably large imbalance and said he hopes their trade could be fair and reciprocal.
And we have an unbelievably large imbalance, as you know, trade imbalance, which has been there for many, many years, Japan having the big advantage. But I think we will have a deal with Japan.
The U.S. is considering putting high tariffs on Japan's exports of auto and auto parts. But it's expected the specifics about their bilateral trade agreement will be signed in August, as Trump has tweeted, quote, much will wait until Japan's July elections. Oh Jung-hee, Arirang News.
Seoul is set to finalize consultations with the World Food Programme and UNICEF to deliver an $8 million donation to North Korea for humanitarian aid. However, Pyongyang isn't at all that receptive to Seoul's gestures. Our Choi Si-young has more.
The South Korean government will finalize its consultations with UN agencies this week about its pledge to donate $8 million for humanitarian assistance to North Korea. Seoul decided earlier this month to take the donation to the World Food Programme and UNICEF for projects on nutritional support and maternal and child health. Seoul's unification ministry made this announcement on Monday.
I reiterate that the government is concerned about the dire living conditions in North Korea and is seeking to provide such humanitarian assistance to the North in a fraternal move.
But North Korea continues to express discontent, calling the humanitarian assistance a secondary issue. Over the last few days, Pyongyang's propaganda outlets have released reports saying Seoul needs to live up to the promises made during their joint declarations. Pyongyang abruptly canceled planned meetings with South Korean civic groups last week, citing similar reasons. It said South Korean media reports are touching upon less important issues, when what the North wants is to discuss making a breakthrough on the current impasse in inter-Korean relations. Experts say Pyongyang wants Seoul to be more proactive in resuming economic cooperation projects with the North. Meanwhile, the Unification Ministry is still collecting opinions from the public and is reviewing options on when and how to deliver the aid. Choi Seong, Arirang News.
Despite the stalemate in denuclearization talks between North Korea and the United States, the White House says President Trump has a good relationship with Kim Jong-un and believes the North Korean leader will keep his word on denuclearization. Moon Gon-young with more.
U.S. President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un share a very good relationship, and the American leader is confident that Chairman Kim will keep his promise and move towards denuclearization. That's White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders in an interview on NBC's Meet the Press while accompanying the U.S. president on his state visit to Japan. She defended President Trump's approach to efforts to denuclearize North Korea after host Chuck Todd pressed her over the U.S. president's tweet a day earlier.
Look, the president's focus in all of this process is on continuing the very good relationship that he has with Chairman Kim, and he feels good that the chairman will stay firm with the commitment that he made to the president and move towards denuclearization. That's our focus. That's going to continue to be our focus.
Mr. Trump's tweet on Sunday dismissed concerns over the North's latest missile launch, calling them some small weapons which did not disturb him. Just hours earlier, his national security advisor John Bolton said there was no doubt the test violated United Nations Security Council resolutions. Observers say the Trump administration is trying to keep diplomatic doors open to North Korea while staying committed to its goal of denuclearizing North Korea, even though Bolton admitted the U.S. has not heard much from Pyongyang since their last summit in Hanoi fell apart. Moon Gon-young, Arirang News.
South Korea is holding a 4-day civilian military exercise aimed at improving coordination between the military, the government and civilians to boost defensive readiness. It replaces joint defense drills with the United States as Seoul and Washington try to scale down joint military exercises. Kim Ji-yeon reports.
Seoul's defense ministry says the new Ulchi Taegeuk exercise is an alternative to the previously held joint exercise with the U.S., the Ulchi Freedom Guardian, which had been conducted annually for more than 4 decades but was suspended this year. Some 4,000 government and related agencies, including the Ministry of the Interior and Safety, are participating in the new Ulchi Taegeuk exercise, which involves some 480,000 people.
The focus of this year's exercise is boosting cooperation among civilians, the government and military, and handling various contingencies including major disasters and terror threats, as well as risk management of national crisis and in case of war.
The new type of exercise combines 2 existing programs, the Ulchi exercise aimed at promoting military readiness in case of war, and the Taegeuk Command Post exercise which focuses on the battle readiness of government and military staff. This year's Ulchi Taegeuk exercise is made up of 2 parts. The first part, which takes place on Monday and Tuesday, involves contingency measures and training for handling national crises and disasters, such as earthquakes. State-of-the-art technologies such as drones and unmanned planes are being used, as well as the testing of communication channels between forces on the ground and the country's Natural Disaster and Safety Status Control Center. The second part of the exercise is aimed at promoting military readiness in case of war and involves both military and non-military personnel. It's to take place from 4 p.m. local time on Tuesday until Thursday. And according to an official from Seoul's defense ministry, the focus of the second part this year is in raising Korea's military capabilities, with the envisioned transfer of wartime operational control from Washington to Seoul in mind. The parts of the exercises involving civilians include education on CPR and evacuation protocols in case of fires. There are also exercises to prepare for cyber terrorism. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
In other news, the World Health Organization has categorized gaming addiction as a mental health condition, but the move is already causing clashes between the medical and gaming industries. Our Won Jung-hwan with the details.
the WHO has included gaming disorders in its international classification of diseases, along with other disorders such as gambling, amid growing global concerns about computer gaming addiction. The medical sector defined the disorder as a pattern of behavior characterized by impaired control over gaming that is evident for more than 12 months and significantly impairs everyday life.
Of course, we cannot diagnose that you have a problem for just a day or two, weeks, or even months. We see this as a disease for those who are suffering for more than 12 months.
South Korea's medical industry has welcomed the WHO's move as it could help health professionals prevent and treat the problems stemming from the disorder.
According to recent research, there are some 20% of people in their 20s to 50s who are actively playing games. So far, there is a lack of evidence for a specific drug or a specific program to effectively support them if they need help. That is why we need these clear new guidelines, so that we can engage in clinical tests and active health-related research.
But the gaming industry is against the WHO's new guidelines. It claims the guidelines will cause a loss of over $9.2 billion and 20% of the industry's jobs within 3 years of their implementation. The industry also claims that the move will deprive children of their rights, highlighting Article 31st of the United Nations Convention on Rights of the Child.
We are concerned that teenagers will feel a sense of guilt when playing video games. They have the right to enjoy their gaming culture. We feel it is unfair to categorize some teenagers by certain criteria which have very unclear diagnostic measures.
The Culture Ministry has also said it cannot accept the WHO's decision. The ministry argued that young people engage in compulsive gaming activities not simply because of games themselves, but because of other factors such as stress at school and lack of social support from teachers and peers. In response to the WHO decision, a committee representing the gaming industry will hold a press event on Wednesday at the National Assembly to outline its moves against the decision, raising concerns that the gaming industry and medical sector are set for more clashes in the future. 원정환, 아리랑 뉴스.
South Korea's financial regulators have rejected the country's only two bids to establish new internet-only banks, saying they don't have what it takes, at least not yet. Our Ko Ryun-hee explains.
Korea's financial regulator made an unexpected move on Sunday. The Financial Services Commission rejected two applications to set up internet-only banks, which would offer online banking and financial services without having physical offices. The FSC accepted the views of outside evaluators who said the first consortium led by Kiwoom Securities lacked innovation and feasibility, and the other, led by financial technology company Viva Republica, lacked the ability for financing. The announcement comes as a blow to the Moon administration's push to reform the finance industry using internet-only banks in order to promote innovative growth.
Since September last year, the South Korean government has pushed for the approval of new internet-only banks. Through this, we expect it to come up with a new driving force for innovative growth and increased competitiveness in the finance industry. I am very sorry that both consortia's applications were rejected.
Currently, there are two internet-only banks in Korea. One is Kakao Bank, operated by Kakao Corporation, best known for its mobile messenger service. Some analysts say the decision is partly due to the lack of success of these banks. According to the Korea Information Society Development Institute, only 13.5% of almost 9,000 respondents said that they use internet-only banks. And although the assets of internet-only banks increased last year, the percentage of total bank assets held by internet-only banks stood at less than 0.5% as of September last year. However, analysts say the government is on the right path.
Korea needs internet-only banks. The existing physical offices of banks are closing, and this trend is not only occurring in Korea but around the world. With internet-only banks, paperwork will disappear, and this will save costs.
If new internet-only banks come in, consumers can enjoy new services. Because there would be more banks, they would compete on price and interest rates so consumers can get cheaper loans.
The Financial Services Commission says it will accept further applications during the third quarter of this year, and the two groups might try again after fixing the cited problems. 고르니, Arirang News.
China's foreign exchange authorities have significantly lowered the exchange rate for the yuan, making it stronger against the US dollar. This comes just days after the US said it's considering new duties on goods from countries that undervalue their currencies. Our Kim Dae-mi has the details.
The People's Bank of China set its reference rate at 6.89 yuan against the US dollar on Monday, down 0.1% from the previous day. This means the Chinese yuan strengthened against the greenback. China's central bank had been raising the rate, making the currency weaker. It did so for 11 days until last Thursday, the 23rd, and then again the next day by a nominal amount. Technically, this is the first time the Chinese financial authorities have significantly lowered the midpoint rate since the trade talks between the US and China ended without a deal on the 10th. The Chinese government has clarified that China will not tolerate a rapid devaluation of the yuan and has blamed the depreciating yuan on the unsuccessful trade talks with the US. Last Thursday, the U.S. Commerce Department proposed new countervailing duties on products from countries that undervalue their currencies against the dollar. According to the department, the new rule could include new criteria for determining when currencies are undervalued. Reports say it could snare other countries, including Germany and even South Korea. Kim Dae-mi, Arirang News.
Now, there's even more bad news for Huawei, with reports saying the Chinese tech giant has now been pulled out of major global standard groups. Park Hee-jun has the details.
Another series of body blows for Chinese tech giant Huawei, already on the ropes from the U.S. government's recently announced restrictions. According to the Nikkei Asian Review, Wi-Fi Alliance, which certifies Wi-Fi products and sets the standard, has temporarily banned Huawei's access to future standards. The Texas-based alliance includes Apple, Qualcomm, Broadcom, and Intel. The Chinese company has also voluntarily withdrawn from JEDEC, which sets semiconductor standards and counts global chip makers Qualcomm, Samsung, SK Hynix, and Toshiba among its members. Huawei has also disappeared from the SD Association, which develops standards for SD cards, the most popular memory card format used in portable devices. The SD Association says it's following orders from the U.S. Department of Commerce. Huawei can still use and develop their technologies, but it will have no say in setting the Western standards while its membership is suspended. It will be unable to influence technology development in its favor. Such U.S. moves escalating tensions, however, are hardly enjoying any popularity on the global stage.
Organizations like U.S.-China Business Council and National Retail Federation have also expressed oppositions to the escalation of tariffs on China. According to the latest World Economic Outlook by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the intensification of China-U.S. trade disputes may lead to a global GDP loss of 0.7% from 2021 to 2022, which is nearly $600 billion as a quantification.
But China still seeks cooperation with global tech companies. During his congratulatory remarks to the China International Big Data Industry Expo on Sunday, President Xi Jinping said countries need to strengthen cooperation to develop the internet, big data, and artificial intelligence. He said China is also willing to share with other countries opportunities that can advance the big data industry. Park Hee-jun, Arirang News.
Shifting gears now, and Bong Joon-ho came home to a hero's welcome today after becoming the first South Korean director to win the top prize at the Cannes Film Festival for his film Parasite. Yoon Jung-min has more.
Bong Joon-ho arrived home from France on Monday afternoon after winning the top prize at the world-famous Cannes Film Festival on Saturday for his latest movie Parasite. On his arrival, he shared his joy in front of the media.
It's such a pleasure. It's not only my first time winning, but the first time winning for the entire Korean film industry. The Cannes Film Festival has given a big present to the Korean film industry to celebrate its 100th anniversary.
Actor Song Kang-ho also shared Bong's success with him. Song has been with the director almost every step of the way since they first worked together in Memories of Murder more than 15 years ago.
Support and affection from you, the movie fans, has made today's result possible. I think the achievement was possible thanks to all the love and support for Korean films.
The black comedy, which uses satire to highlight the gap between the rich and poor, has been acclaimed by critics and viewers, even getting an 8-minute-long standing ovation after its screening at Cannes. Experts see the movie as a potential game-changer for the South Korean film history.
This year is the 100-year anniversary of Korean cinema, so it's a very timely award. And so with lots of news coverage about the Korean film industry, it's encouraging to see it is a healthy industry.
Bong has been lauded for the meticulous quality of his work and his attention to detail. As well as his stunning cinematography, he makes use of satire and humor to shine a light on social issues. Bong's 2003 hit Memories of Murder uses satire to jab at the incompetence of state power. Bong's 2006 release The Host satirizes the helplessness of people within society as a family has to fight a monster alone to save their daughter. His signature themes appear again in his later works, Snowpiercer in 2013 and Okja in 2017. Parasite follows similar themes. While shooting his films, Bong has always paid extra care to his child actors in particular and emphasized the need to stick to the maximum working hour rule to improve working conditions for those on set. Bong Joon-ho's Parasite hit cinema screens across South Korea on Thursday. Bong said he is excited but nervous about showcasing his work for the first time in his home country. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
The presidential office says it will continue efforts to reveal the truth behind the 2014 sinking of the Sewol-ho ferry, which claimed hundreds of young lives. But responding to a petition on the presidential office's website calling for a fresh probe into the disaster, Presidential Secretary for Anti-Corruption Park Hyung-chul said it's still too early to discuss whether to create an independent investigation group in the prosecution. He said that a special investigation committee is actively working on the case, adding its tenure will end next year. The top office said it will look into the then Park Geun-hye administration's handling of the disaster, which came under fire for apparently failing to take swift and appropriate measures to rescue passengers. South Korea will open its first duty-free shops at Incheon International Airport's arrivals area on Friday. The stores operated by SM Duty Free and NTAS Duty Free will sell alcohol, cosmetics, perfumes and souvenirs, but not tobacco products. The Korea Customs Service says that is due to the big price differences between ones sold at duty-free shops and ones sold in the market. The new duty-free shops at arrival terminals are expected to alleviate the inconvenience for people having to travel with duty-free items that they bought before departing the country. The stores are also expected to create hundreds of jobs. The South Korean Professional Billiards Association's first league tour is set to present a new paradigm of the game. Starting next Monday, the PBA Tour aims to add excitement to the table. Our Kan Hyung-woo reports.
Billiards is getting a makeover in South Korea. Ahead of the first league tour of South Korea's Professional Billiards Association on June 3rd, new rules have been announced to spice up the game. In the past, a typical billiards game was played until one player reached 40 points, but now the league will see players compete in best-of-5 games. The first 4 games will be played to 15 points, while the 5th game will be played to 11 points. For the final, competitors will play best-of-7. Globally renowned players are participating in the PBA Tour, namely South Korea's Kang Dong-gung and Belgium's Frédéric Coudron.
Now that I've truly become a professional billiards player, I'll do my best to improve my game and show it to the fans.
Another change to the rules involves the initial round of 128 for men and 64 for women. After being divided into groups of 4, players will start with 99 points each. If they score, not only does it add to their total, but takes away from the other 3 competitors' scores in their group. The top two from each group moves on to the next round. The PBA also wants to move away from the formal uniform of tuxedos and bow ties and has instead introduced more casual attire, such as shirts with a collar and pants. Cheerleaders will also be introduced to add excitement, as well as electronic scoreboards to better engage fans. With almost 200 players from 14 countries competing for the total prize of $236,000, the PBA is hoping to give new life to the sport and spread awareness of Korean billiards culture further afield. 강영우, Arirang News.
Now, more than half of all elderly people experience traffic accidents due to a decline in their physical and cognitive abilities. And now, Korean researchers have developed a customized device to help elderly pedestrians get around more safely. Park Se-young has the details.
Around 3,700 people were killed in traffic accidents in 2018. Of them, 45% were pedestrians aged 65 or above. Due to physical and cognitive decline, more than half of the elderly population get in traffic accidents.
A motorcycle sprung out on the street a couple of days ago and we almost crashed. My hearing has gone bad, and so has my judgment.
To help the elderly get around safely, Korean researchers have developed a mobility scooter with autonomous vehicle technology. Based on the analysis of movements, the scooter is shaped and sized to fit the driver. It's equipped with ultrasonic sensors, laser sensors, and a stereo camera to detect obstacles and slopes. The scooter does not speed up when going downhill and automatically slows down with sound alerts when obstacles come within 2.8 meters.
It does not slow down when going uphill and goes at a fixed speed so that older people with cognitive impairment can drive intuitively.
When the drivers choose their desired speed, the scooter can drive autonomously at that speed. When commercialized, the researchers believe it will help elderly people to get around more easily and safely. Park Se-young, Arirang News.
It is that time of the newscast now to take a look at some of the digital media content available on Arirang's social media platforms. And today, Justin from When in Korea, or Wink, gets a lesson on how to speak a mix of Korean and English, otherwise known as Korenglish.
Hi, Nayeon. I really love your music. I think you are amazingly cute, and I like your smile. I was writing to Nayeon. What are you doing?
Justin, you say that for 1,000 years, it's never gonna work exactly. Let me teach you a better way. There's a thing called 한영어. Have you ever heard about Korenglish? Not Konglish, Korenglish. So it's a new language trending among K-pop fans. So let's keep watching. Han, Korean, 영어, English. So it's foreigners use to communicate in English but with mixed of Korean words. One of the K-pop fans tweeted, "My oppa is 진짜 cute."
Oppa would be, since I'm an older male to another female, they'd call me oppa. Right?
Exactly. And 진짜 means really.
Right, really, 진짜.
So oppa is really cute.
Cute.
Have you seen the new BTS video?
No.
Come on, Justin. I 너무 좋아 their dance. It's so 대박.
Okay, so this you're trying to show me another example.
Yeah.
With the BTS. I got you.
너무 means like really, a lot. And 좋아 means like. So really like their dance.
That's really creative, yeah. So the reason for 한영어 is because the fans want to make sure that their oppas really understand what they're saying, right?
Exactly. Well,
That's another way of communicating.
I think
with
it's
your
more
friends, yeah.
expressive.
Oh.
Yeah. So, it's so 짜증나.
Oh, okay, I got you. So instead of, it's so annoying.
Yeah. When I say it's so 짜증나, both foreigners and Koreans can understand me, you know?
Right.
Justin, what's your 주말 plan?
I understand right away.
Exactly.
So 주말 is weekend, right? So as long as you know 주말, what's your 주말 plan? Yeah, what are your plans for the weekend, right?
Exactly.
What are my 주말 plans?
Justin, 오늘 weather is so 대박.
Yeah, it is actually.
Yeah, there's no 미세먼지.
So the weather's nice. Are you going anywhere?
Yeah, I actually 휴가 냈어 for next week.
Where are you going?
I'm going to 제주도.
제주도. 진짜 jealous. who are you going with?
It's 비밀.
Hey, Tommy.
Yeah?
I have something I want to 고백해 to you. 너의 사랑이요? 너의 사랑이요?
Justin, you're 진짜 disgusting. We're just 친구.
He's just 친구. Such a 바보.
Time to get a check on the weather now. And nationwide rain has cooled down the recent heat wave, but we should brace for flashes of lightning and gusty winds for the rest of the evening. Let's get more from our Michelle Park at the Weather Center. Michelle.
Good evening. Now, rain in Seoul has tapered off, so there shouldn't be any major inconveniences during the commuting hours. But the situation is a little different in the southern regions as the area has been soaked with the huge amounts of rain. Now, more precipitation is left to fall throughout the night, especially in the far south, bringing up to 40 millimeters. Now, along with continuing rain, strong winds will continue to hit the peninsula in all three parts of the coastal regions. Now, due to the strong winds, there may be cancellations or changes in flight schedules, so check your flight informations ahead of time. Now, the sun will come out tomorrow with just partly cloudy skies. Now, good news is the temperatures will be cool and also very enjoyable. Now, even for Beijing and Tokyo, the weather will stay cooler than the recent days. Checking out our readings in detail, now the nation will be waking up to a cooler morning tomorrow. Seoul and Gwangju topping out to 13 degrees Celsius in the morning and a few notches warmer for the southern regions. Now, there will be about 10-degree jump during the day, but it will still be considered cool, with Seoul topping out to 25 degrees and Busan 23 and Jeju at 22 degrees. Sunny conditions are all I see for now, but temperatures won't rise up to the point where it's sweltering. I'll leave you with the weather conditions around the world.
Well, that will wrap it up for this edition of Arirang News. Thank you, as always, for watching. I will be back with Handaeun tomorrow at 7 p.m. Korea time. Meanwhile, News in Depth is coming up next with Kim Min-ji, so stay tuned.